Good evening, everybody. Get situated. Take your time. No rush. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the town board meeting, March 9th, 2023. Can I have a motion to open that meeting?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything from the floor on the agenda? Anybody have any questions on it? No? Okay. First item on the agenda is a public hearing. Spectrum Northeast LLC by its manager, Charter Communications, franchise renewal of its cable television franchise with the town of Goshen. Can I get a motion to open up the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
George, Phil, you guys worked on this? You wanna give us a rundown?
And Alex is here tonight.
Alex, how are you?
He's the person who we negotiated the contract
Okay.
with.
Tough guy, just telling.
Yeah. So, you have stuff, Phil, you can.
No, go ahead, George. I'll fill it in. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but, oh, there it is.
Test? That's good, okay. So we have been negotiating this contract for a while. We're going back and forth with Alex. We had a couple of sit-downs and a lot of emails back and forth. Basically, this is for cable TV in the town of Goshen. And there were a couple of sticking points, and I think that's what caused the thing to drag on a bit. But one of the issues was gross revenues, and in our mind, they were restricting the gross revenues because we received 5% to the town coffers. So because of that, we went back and forth, and we went back to the language that was in the last contract, which is a little bit more broad. I think they were looking originally for a 15-year contract, and we said 5, and we agreed on a 10-year contract. We were thought that the insurance for liability and different types of things was short, so we increased the insurance. Town
Basically, a lot of the items that did not need negotiation were taken from the previous 10-year contract, which was a hard negotiated contract when we started. So a lot of them were just carryover, and George is just pointing out the items that they changed for the most part that we were or were not happy with.
Okay, so then we went on, and there was a 3-year limitation on going back to recovery of franchise fees. Actually, this past time, kind of before the negotiations went on, we recovered about $37,000 from franchise fees. We had a group look at that, and they came up with that, so that was good for the town. We were able to recover some funds that were due to us. So we can go back now 5 years and look to see if any of those types of things are happening again. Next was if there was any revocation of the, which probably is not going to happen because there's only one game in town, but there was a whole, we thought, both Phil and I, we thought that there was a really tedious type thing that we had to go through. There was one public hearing, and then there was another public hearing. So anyway, we modified that and went basically back to the language that was in the last contract. And I think that was basically it as far as the changes are concerned. So we're satisfied with it. Our attorney, Rory, reviewed it. He's satisfied with it. So we now present it to the rest of the board for their approval. But Alex, you know, if you have anything that you want to say, feel free. I have a mic here for you if you want.
I'll add that their attorney was also involved in parts of the negotiation. So all the legal areas were discussed and we had come to an agreement already, so go ahead, Alex. And I think you added some public service for us on, you might want to mention that and take a bow on that.
Yeah, I will. Well, first, thank you for the opportunity to speak to the town. Our negotiations actually began in November, so I was here in November, and George and Phil, we sat in this room and went through all the issues for the franchise renewal. Just to step back a bit, so the franchise is something that any cable TV provider has to negotiate with the locality, in this case, the town of Goshen, for use of the rights of way, for us to put our wires on poles above ground or go underground, to provide the network that we use to not only provide cable TV service, but over that same network, we provide internet service, which there are actually more subscribers to internet now than cable TV. And we also provide landline phone service and mobile phone service, although albeit that's over a different network. So those are our 4 different services. So the negotiation of the franchise with the town is just for the cable TV portion of the service, but you're effectively backing into the other services since we provide those services mostly over the same network. And that's something that's laid out in federal law. We're required to come and negotiate with all the localities to get approval, unlike other businesses that might just get a permit and open up a store selling pizza or something like that. We go through this longer process to negotiate with the locality. And I think the real value of the process is actually the fact that George and Phil and I got to sit down and hear the concerns of the town. If there are any issues with service, that can be raised. And so it gives us an opportunity periodically every few years to really engage and have a discussion about the services that we're offering the town. So I know George and Phil, they said I was a tough negotiator. I thought they were. I even had to bring in our lawyers to negotiate certain points and reference certain laws. But I always thought they were fair, which was nice. And in addition to the points that they raised, I think one of the 2 other important things to mention, the town currently has 1 complimentary account, meaning that we provide free cable TV service. That's to the Department of Public Works. They actually got 6 in this latest franchise, and we covered not only town hall, but most of the ambulance, volunteer firefighter, and public safety related entities in the town. And then the other thing I would mention on franchise fees, we provide 5% fee from the cable TV subscribers to the town. That's over $100,000 a year. It was $118,000 last year. It varies from year to year based on the price that we charge customers and the number of subscribers, but it's a sizable amount of money for the town's budget. And that's not, it's not something we're giving free to the town. It comes from the subscribers, and it's also for the use of the rights of way for our equipment that makes up our network. So with that, I'll conclude. Thank you, and appreciate the negotiation and the team that did it.
Thanks, Alex.
So actually, Exhibit A, Alex, that was the one thing that I sent the email back to you. The DPW garage, you said, is one of the complimentary ones. Well, that's not on Exhibit A, but we wanted it to be.
Yeah, so that's currently a complimentary account. We had a change in policy whereby we're now only providing complimentary accounts to government buildings like town hall and public safety. The point I was trying to make is you only have 1 active account currently that's complimentary, but you're getting 6. So while DPW will be paid, you're getting 5 others, 6 others that are free, so it's a net gain of 5. It's a good deal for the town.
So when you say complimentary, what actually does that mean? Does that mean like the full boat, or does that mean the basic service, or what?
Yeah, it's free basic cable TV.
I see.
So it's all the channels except like the movie channels, HBO, etc.
Right.
And you get 1 connection and 1 free cable box.
Right. Okay. So I guess that's basically the points from Alex and us, and I guess if the public has anything to say, we're open to questions or comments.
Bill?
Bill Troy, Town of Goshen. George, I'm just curious, I remember from past discussions, there were a number of what you regard as sticking points in the contract. Sounds like you had a good discussion, but I'm curious if there were any of those sticking points that were left unresolved.
No, I think the biggest one was this issue of if we had to go into a revocation. And that we really kind of dug our heels in, especially Phil. And that was resolved amicably. So I don't think that there was any, I mean, there were things that we asked for and we can get, like a senior citizen discount. That was one of the things that was thrown out to us, but they wouldn't entertain that. I don't know, maybe you want to entertain it now? that the heat's on?
I can comment on that. So, we actually do have programs for seniors. They're largely for low-income seniors. We have a program called Spectrum Internet Assist. So if there are seniors, this is for internet service. If there are seniors in the town who are on SSI, which is supplemental Social Security, not the same as Social Security, it means essentially low-income plus low assets, they can get internet service for $20. There's also a program that we participate in that the federal government created that we opted into. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program. That provides a $30 discount on internet. Again, it's for low-income households. It's up to about 200% of the poverty line, so it covers actually people, households that make up to around $50,000 a year. And that can also reduce your internet service by $30. So we feel like those programs are kind of addressing that universe. The senior discount is something that a couple of localities in New York State have. It's really a relic of past franchise agreements. It provides 1 month free if you pay 12 months in a row. The reason we don't like it has nothing to do with the money. It's about administering it. It's very complicated because we have 1,100 franchises in New York State alone. And so we try to make them as similar as possible. Bill and George can tell you when we were negotiating, I'm trying to standardize everything so that we can run a business. And the more, a franchise has a little nuance or unique provision that differs from the town next door, it just becomes very difficult, from a customer service perspective to actually administer these things. So I have neighboring localities who have this senior discount, and when they call in, often the customer service representatives who are covering thousands of localities across the country, they're not familiar with it because it only exists in a couple places. So you can imagine it across the country, if you have tens of thousands of localities and they all have unique provisions, it becomes very hard to administer the franchise. So that's really the reason why we try to standardize these as much as possible. It's the same thing with the complementary accounts. We try to create equity between the localities and have a uniform policy that's also generous to the towns.
Bill, to answer your question, we went down item by item, and each time we had a negotiation, we would cross the ones off that we fully agreed on, both of them, made sure that legally they were acceptable and that their board accepted it and we accepted it. So it was a tedious process, but it was the right process. And we got down to the last one, as George said, and that took a while, but they came around.
I think we did a lot of you.
So, yeah, there were no items that were left unnegotiated.
It was also interesting, I think you said in one of our discussions, Alex, that we really dug our heels in, and some municipalities, you never hear anything from Bill, right? They just sign it off.
We're very methodical, and they had a long list. We went through the long list.
Yeah, I'm
We
getting,
went through the items one by one, and that took 4 months.
I'm getting inquiries from other supervisors to lend them out.
I mean, we at least have a time.
No, we won't do that anymore, too much torture.
That's job security. Mr. Howe?
Yeah, I'm Hal, 6 Boxwood. Can you go into more detail as to what the process is in terms of the recoveries of the $30,000 the last time. How does that work?
Okay, so what transpired was, and this has happened in a couple of things. When I was with the village, we did the same thing, but that was back when I guess it was Time Warner. But how it works is, it's a really tedious process. So what we did is we hired a firm that actually does this type of thing, not only for cable, but also for other utilities, like our electric bill and our gas bill and so on and so forth. Sometimes there's stuff that's going on there where we've been assigned a particular account and we don't have that account. That account is no longer in use or whatever. Not as far as cable is concerned, I was talking more about the utilities. So anyway, we hired this firm, and then they did their due diligence all the way through that and came up with a figure of what they figured we were owed from Spectrum. So then we went into negotiations, and actually there was some monies that were actually taken out, and the final product I think was that we received was $37,000 from monies that were supposed to be allocated to us, but for some reason they were allocated to another jurisdiction. So therefore we were able to recover that. Is that a pretty good description then, Alex, of what transpired?
Yeah, so when we calculate franchise fees and then give them to the different localities, it's based on the subscribers and their zip codes. And obviously all of that is mapped to the jurisdiction of the different localities. I'm not exactly sure because I'm not in the weeds on it, but sometimes there are coding errors. And so there's no net gain to the company, it's just a house that was in the town of Goshen is attributed to the neighboring village or town or city. And so they're getting franchise fees that should have gone to the town of Goshen. So it's a correction, and that amount is $37,000. It's also over a period of years, and keep in mind, we're giving roughly, give 118 last year. That's probably over $1 million over the course of 10 years. So you're talking about, that's the error rate somewhere around.
This company that we use, it was about 5 or 6 years ago, they sent us information. And what they do, they make money on this too. So if they find this much, they keep a piece of it. We don't have to pay them other than that. So it's worked out very well.
Anybody else? All right. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So
Thanks, Alan.
can I get a motion to accept and have the supervisor sign this agreement?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I'm sorry,
Aye.
I missed who made the motion?
Bill.
George, can you put the mic on your stand?
Yeah,
They were
I was
on.
trying to turn it off.
Just take it and push it to the side.
You keep it on the stand, it'll be fine. There.
Okay.
So that's a done deal.
Yeah.
Yep, sign
Well,
this.
thank you, Alex.
Yeah, for a
I'll see you,
second.
I'll see you in 10 years.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate you
Thanks,
coming
Alex.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, have a safe trip back.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Number 1, review and approve special permit for New Leaf Energy, AKA Broadleaf Solar. Sean?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So this was last before you, your February 9th meeting. At that time, you had a public hearing. You closed the public hearing. The applicant then went back to the planning board, and the planning board adopted their resolutions relative to site plan approval at their March 2nd meeting a week ago. So the last item that the applicant needs to get their conditional approvals is the special permit to the purview of this board. You have 2 resolutions before you because it's 2 separate properties, and originally the applicant had asked for the approvals to be separate in case one proceeds ahead. I think right now they're going to proceed with both simultaneously, so they can tell you more how that's going to be developed. If you have any questions.
Thanks, Sean.
Question.
What's yours? Doug, you got a question?
Yeah. The item 14, decommissioning estimate plan prepared by them on February 11th, 2022. Did you see that, and is that done properly?
Yes, that's a submission. You need to have a decommissioning plan to be a complete application. The planning board and this board can't process an incomplete application. So the applicant submits a decommissioning plan. Frankly, I put that aside until we get to this point because items change on the plan, they take panels away, they add panels. So rather than go through it in every iteration, it's one of the last items, as you know, will come back before you with an estimate. So they're gonna revise their estimate based on the condition approved plans. I'll review that estimate and make a recommendation to this board.
Question though, do we have to do these separately, even though they're estimated for separately, or can we approve both at simultaneously, because he doesn't really have to talk twice,
No.
correct?
It's up to council, I don't see any reason why. The planning board went through one and did them both.
I don't think you have to, I would vote on them separately, but I don't think you have to talk about them twice.
That's what I mean, so as he speaks
Yeah,
about both of them.
As you'll see, you're not gonna see a ton of difference. in
Yeah,
it.
I got you.
But I would vote on them separately.
Yep, gotcha.
Yeah.
Rory, I have a question for you
Yeah.
as well. If you
Sure.
look on page 10,
Which one are we looking at?
the first one. This approval shall be subject to receiving the town of Goshen Planning Board approval for the satisfaction of all conditions that may be contained herein. Prior to signing the plan by the planning board chairman, the applicant must execute a payment in lieu of taxes pilot agreement with the town. Now, what we've done with the county tax office, it's not the planning board chair who signs off on that, it's the town board, okay? And and also in that meeting, we would have it over at the county real property tax office. And we have the school represented there as well, because they have to sign off and approve on this, because they get some of this taxation. So it's not a planning board chair, it is probably the town supervisor and.
I can address that for you.
Okay.
So if you read it, it says prior to signing of the plans. So what that means is that the planning board chairman will not sign site plan
Until it's agreed to?
until the pilot is
Pilot
completed.
agrees.
So
It's
there's
following
no
exactly
input
what-
on
Okay.
that at all.
All right. But it's very important the school be there, because they're a big recipient of the funds. Okay, thank you.
What would you like to see? I've got all of them.
Phil, George, anybody have anything they would like to see?
No.
Nothing at all? You've seen it all?
Yeah.
This might be an easy night for you.
Yeah,
The trip down was probably longer than the explanation.
And on the pilot part, that was just the.
But maybe some of the people in the
condition you asked
public
for.
might wanna see it, I don't know.
Yeah, and on the pilot piece, that was the condition that you asked for Owens Road, so that's what's in here for these things.
Okay.
I just have one question,
Sure, Ben.
I'm gonna leave it in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, leave it in there. Okay, so it's just a general question, you know, at our last meeting, we have a lengthy go-around of a lot of different issues.
Yeah.
But, as far as it stands now, with this coming to us for potentially our approval, all of the other governing bodies have basically approved it, right? We're
Yes.
conditionally, I know there's a conditional improvement, but there's no other really impediments or any other things that may pop up from another board or anything. Where, that was one of the things that Phil had said, right, that there was some, we didn't want to go ahead and approve this until like the planning board, and they just acted, what was March 3rd, I believe it was, when they finally gave the conditional approval. So that's my general question, everything is in order? Okay.
There's all of the discretionary approvals and plenty of approvals are in place. However, if they need to pull a driveway permit or something ministerial like that, those are still outstanding. Those are addressed in your general conditions that say essentially they have to get all permits before they can move forward. So a building permit is another example. They obviously don't have a building permit.
Mhm.
Those permits are still outstanding.
Right, so-
One of the things that came up in the public hearing was the composition of the solar panels themselves. Did it have PFOAs or PFOSs in them? What's the answer to that?
So the planning board included a condition in their resolution of approval that the panels can't have any PFOA, PFOS,
Right.
or any other type of
Okay.
fluorocarbon.
Wonderful, thank you. Perfect. You done good?
And when will the conditions that are outstanding be met? What is the
That's what the
criteria?
applicant schedule. Sometimes,
Well-
that's how applicants develop their projects, sometimes it takes them some time. I know on Owens Road, they're working to complete those conditions currently.
Right, so we can't issue a certificate until all of those conditions are met, I
When you
presume?
say certificate,
Well, whatever the final approvals are so that they can build this particular project.
so the process would be, if you approve the resolutions this evening,
Right.
they have conditions they have to address.
Right.
Some of those conditions are triggered by like the one that Doug just spoke about, before the planning board chairman signs the plan and finalizes that approval, they have to have an executed pilot agreement. So there's a number of items they have to do before the chairman signs the plan. In order for the building inspector to issue a building permit, he needs a signed site plan.
Right, and all the conditions have to be met at that time?
All of the conditions that are identified as prior to signing. There are some conditions in the planning board's resolution, such as the PFOS condition, that is an ongoing condition.
Right, right. All I want to make sure is that, once this project is up and everyone walks away, we still have unresolved conditions. So I just needed to know at what point are those conditions all met before what happens, that they can turn the power on or whatever they have to do.
What this board
That's all I
doesn't see
care
in the
about.
background is the applicant will work to satisfy the conditions, whether it's one condition or 100 conditions. There's legal conditions, there's administrative conditions, there's engineering conditions. When the engineering conditions are satisfied, I write the chairman a letter and say, the engineering conditions are satisfied, however, you have these other administrative and legal conditions. So you should talk to Kelly, or you should talk to Rory. And the chairman checks to make sure that he actually gets correspondence from the other town consultants that says, those conditions that are assigned to me are completed. And at that point, he signs the plans, subject to the building department having completed the administrative thing. All fees are paid, you know.
Right,
things of that
but how about the construction? Does the construction go on as they're satisfying the conditions? That's what I'm more concerned about.
At that point, the plan gets signed, the site plan gets signed, building permit would be issued.
Yep.
Right? And then there may be conditions that need to be completed during the building permit process. So for example, one of the planning board conditions, which is in your code, say that they need to install the panels under certain wind loading conditions. That gets worked out as part of the building permit. So the building inspector will not issue a building permit until that condition is done. So there's a number of conditions that are tied to a number of different triggers along the approval process.
Right, but I mean, I'm just talking from experience, because I was on the planning board many years ago, and we assessed many conditions on some of these site plans, and all of a sudden, the buildings were up, and the place was in full operation, and those conditions hadn't been met, and still are not met 20 years later. So I just want to make sure that we don't get put into a catch-22 position, where we say, okay, all's good, we're all happy, everybody go, and they leave, and those conditions are not met. That's what I was really.
I think the town has a pretty good procedure in place to make sure that items like that do not occur. And I don't recall anything occurring within the last 10 years that, you know, where conditions have been missed or anything like that.
Okay, good. I have such a long memory, believe me. Yeah, good, thank you.
So assuming the approvals come about, what's your time frame as far as starting construction?
Chairman Skillen, we are working with the Orange and Rockland on the timing of when we can interconnect, which is, I think it's going to take about a full year to interconnect. So over the course of the next several months, we work to meet the required conditions to get construction going, and then likely construction could happen potentially in the fall, or perhaps more likely completed in early summer of next year.
And is it one project and then you finish it and then the other project? Or are both projects going to be built and put online basically at the same time?
Both will be put online at the same time. They are separate owners, separate parcels, but the interconnection is costs are being shared between the two of them. Overall cost of the interconnection is applied to both of them, so it'll be the same time.
Everything's separate except the application. They made one application.
This one is two, right?
This
one is two,
You
yeah.
have two separate ones, but you only made one application for both, right?
No, not this one. You're thinking of Owens.
Right, I'm sorry. Okay, all right,
You're
okay.
thinking of Owens.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought you did on
these
this
have
one too.
two separate
These
site
two
plans, two
separate.
separate applications, two EFs.
Two separate fees and all of that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, all right, very good, thanks, Joe.
Are you building Owens as well?
We are.
Yeah.
How's that
yeah.
going?
It's just a few weeks ahead of this one in time, from the time.
Right, okay.
But we have the same pilot.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
Correct, anything?
No.
Anything else? I have nothing. All right, so can I get a motion to approve the special permit for New Leaf, AKA Broadleaf
So
Urban
moved.
Solar?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve the special permit for New Leaf Energy, AKA Vivian Road Solar?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Selling poster boards real cheap. Going for a home.
Mr. Supervisor, Joe, you done with things?
You might want to stay just with Delaware Engineering, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is the bill signed right here?
No, that's not good. Are you coming in tomorrow?
All right, next on the agenda, review and discuss proposal from Delaware Engineering for the water consolidation and the Hamiltonian water filters. Mike?
Hi.
Mike, can you use the mic? Sorry.
Here.
So people can hear you.
Sure.
because we're-
I speak loud enough. All right, Mike, so we got a presentation from you both on the consolidation, which I think we began with the attorneys, and more importantly, the Hamiltonian water filters. Can you just share with the board where we are on that and what the next steps may be, or will be?
Next steps are to get the signed agreement by the town board and proceed. That's, you have those, my understanding is they haven't been executed yet, have they?
No, no, they have not.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions on the,
I do. I didn't see any reference to ADC Maplewood. And ADC Maplewood is, we've got a developers agreement signed with them a couple of years back. They're gonna provide water to Hamiltonian Park. And so they're gonna, the same thing that we have internally is gonna have to happen with them. So that's gotta be part of the design.
Was that, is that developer gonna be,
so the developer, from my understanding, developer Sean is gonna be bringing the water across the sewer across to Hamiltonian.
Yeah.
And the
so
water. He's
Let's
got-
just talk about water,
Yeah.
right? And
Water.
You're right, I actually looked at the development
Yep.
agreement for Maplewood today, I think it was in 2021 or.
21 was when we signed it.
So, earlier this year, or actually late last year, you had indicated that you want all developments to have a community water system that have filtration in proactively, even if they don't need it,
Right.
wanted it. Developers agreement was already in place with Maplewood, so what we did, and I had emailed you about this, the planning board had incorporated into the resolution of approval a requirement for the developer to provide filtration. He wasn't very happy with it, but he agreed to it in the end.
So they pay for it then?
Yes, just
Oh,
like
good.
he's gonna pay
Okay.
for development of his own well,
I like
it's
it.
gonna include filtration.
So I have one question though. He's gonna build his own green sand system on site to mitigate any manganese and iron. Is it better to do that, or is it better to just run those lines, those wells over to the system we're gonna be building in Hamiltonian Park and add it to the, because we have to build a new building in Hamiltonian Park, we know that.
Yeah, what you'd have to do then is you would send raw water to Ham Park to be treated, then you'd have to send treated water back
Back.
out and distribute it among.
Oh, right.
I haven't looked at the numbers.
Well, what they're going to do is once it's treated, it's gonna go in that water supply tank.
Right.
They're buying into that, that's what their developers agreement. And so then it's gonna go through pipes back to them.
Yes, but you can't mix raw
You
water.
can't, no,
Right, so
it's gotta be
pipes.
pure water.
So-
the filtration we're talking about ideally needs to be treated at the source, which is at the well site where it's getting chlorinated.
So then that's gonna be an additional,
Yeah.
but that's somewhere down the road. Now we're only talking about the existing Hamiltonian Park location and Arcadia location, correct?
Well, the proposal is to start with, is just Hamiltonian. I mean, Arcadia is a separate project in and of itself.
So this proposal is only for Hamiltonian.
Hamiltonian.
Okay.
And does this mean the heritage part is paid for by Mr. Mumford?
Correct.
Great,
Exactly.
I love
Yep.
it, okay.
That's already being done.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, can you just go over, some of the costs here are a little troubling for me.
Yeah.
On what the exact costs are gonna be for everything we need to do.
Well, we gave you a proposal, under the scenario that the town will be self-financing it through traditional means. But if the town desires to seek state financing, there's additional effort that goes into that, and that's what's spelled out on the cover letter as far as all the additional steps, and in the end it summed up how much longer it's expected to take for the project to ultimately be completed, design and construction, and because you have to play by the rules of who's giving you the money, and then alongside of that, the additional amount per each step. In the end, it adds about another year to the project and an additional 42,000 to because of the additional effort that goes into the entire application process for state funding.
And 5 to 8% more because it's the following year. There's a cost increase for
Well,
all the different things.
I guess, no, this is really just for the, we want to call it the upfront cost, the design and administrative costs.
I got you.
That are borne, that us, in this case, us, or whoever your engineer is, would have to take on in order to lead you through the financing
So for the
process.
purposes of this conversation, we've already got $200,000 in funding from Senator Scoopus
Okay.
against another $800,000 that we have to ban. So that should be covered in the Hamiltonian Park Green Sand System without going to further.
That was a grant you received, right?
The grant we received is not a matching grant, but a supplemental grant. So he's giving us $200,000 against $1 million project. That's what I was told this project was gonna cost, close to $1 million for the green sand system in Hamiltonian Park.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm getting at is we don't need there's no need for us to go to additional funding because we've already gotten that.
Then this doesn't apply. If you're not gonna seek additional state funding, then this won't apply. And the only thing, the cost will be the proposal that we gave you.
Correct.
So is the state funding low-income loans? What
It's
are you talking about?
lower interest financing.
Lower interest finance.
Yes.
So,
So it's not you're getting any grant. I mean, you are paying it back, you're just getting it below market rate.
right, but
So
on
we have
this
some
one, we would go out
really
for
good
bonds.
rates. We have some really good rates now with our company.
That's what I'm.
Yeah, I don't think we need that.
I want to make sure that our rates are competitive if we go with our own company.
Right.
If the state can offer something a lot better.
I don't think there's anything.
We've been there
zero
before,
Yes, I
Bill,
know.
and it didn't work
Not that
out.
I know of,
No, I
right.
know that.
I wouldn't do it for the delay and everything else.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure those.
For a project of this size, which is
Yeah.
big for the small district that it is, it really isn't a massive project where you can,
Right.
you know, I think we didn't want to steer you, we want you to come to your own conclusion, but you're probably making the right
Yeah.
decision.
So the total cost for the $155,000 is all Delaware engineering costs?
Which one you, I'm actually, well, you can just, if you're not gonna seek state financing, I'm gonna put this letter aside and go to the
Well,
agreement itself.
Your costs are in there as well, on the second.
It might very well be summarized in there, but I'm just gonna look at the, so our cost for design, development, and permitting is, total, that includes construction administration and construction inspection. Before you even get to that stage, you know, the design development, 87,000, regulatory permitting and approval, an additional 8, and then when time comes to go to bid, 10,000. So there's a sequential list of steps here. So in the end, plan to budget for 155, but it's a not to exceed figure, and just considering, you know, the size of this project or lack thereof, you know, this is a not to exceed figure.
Do we have an estimated cost on what the green sand system will cost us?
We said that was in that report, which is in that the.
So we're gonna look at that again, because I thought it was well over $1 million.
Well, it's not the system itself, but the work involved with piping in, the telemetry, and everything that's involved to get the system up and running. So it's not just the filtration itself, but the connecting of well 4 to the well 5 well field, and.
We're going to have a bid on it, right?
Yeah, we'll have to bid on it.
We'll have to bid on it.
Right.
What it is going to be.
And some of the stuff the town believed they could do in-house.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a good chance we do a lot of it in-house.
Yeah,
A lot
so
of it
that comes off,
everything else.
what you have to go to bid and finance.
Okay.
So then I think, Joe, what you might be saying then is I was under the impression that for everything, green sand, at Hamiltonian Park is $1 million, including everything. But I think what you were saying is maybe it was well over $1 million.
Well, it's $1 million plus the $155,000 in engineering costs, so $1,155,000.
Oh, that's, the 155 is not
4, 5,
included in
and
in that.
I'm sorry, what?
The 155 is not included in the 1 million.
No.
I see.
But that's
So
estimated.
1.1, but yeah, at this point, you can only estimate until,
Yeah.
So we can go out to bid, and there's things that we can do in-house.
We can do
The
forcing
digging and stuff,
count.
because remember, we bought the excavator now, so we have a lot of
Right.
different things that we can do.
all we can give you at this point is an order of magnitude, it's in that 1 million
Right.
range.
Right.
You know, you really can't, you can't even develop a probable estimate of, opinion of cost until we know exactly what's gonna be involved to make this all work in the end. It's not like there's just a book we can open up and say, we're gonna order this, put it here. It's a custom design.
Of course, the force account is gonna be charged back to the development anyway,
Correct.
to the subdivision anyway, so.
So then the other question I had was, it's $1,155,000 or whatever. Initially, I guess this is going to be placed in the hands of the Hamiltonian Park residents.
Part of their capital contribution, yeah.
Right, so what does that do to their tax rate or their water and sewer rate?
Well, it's gonna go up.
Well, yeah, how much? That's the question.
Well, we're gonna have to do that when we have our meeting with them with the rate changes.
I mean, unless it's not astronomical, I can't see anybody complaining about a few more bucks to get clean water.
Oh, I think, well, we.
If we
did-
consolidate the
Yes.
water district, it may go down.
May go down.
But that's only if you can get, if we wanna go out for grants. I don't, in this case, we're saying we don't wanna particularly go out for grants.
Well, we have a grant.
You have a grant.
But I mean, we don't, right, we don't need to consolidate this one. The fact is that this is gonna be significant. I know that when we were working on, I&I, we've spent $165,000, and it bumped it up. And so this is 5 times that, you know,
Well, it's the
so.
payment, not the amount.
Yeah, this is just,
This is
this
only
is
the
just,
payment.
Right, yeah.
this was just to satisfy the initial grant that we got from Senator
Right,
Scotia.
sure.
We're still talking
Yes.
about the overall project of fixing all the I&I and everything else,
Yeah.
that, you know,
Sure.
in that overall project.
And it has to be done.
Well, I'm just talking about what we did when we were bumping it up annually to
I
pay for
understand.
those things.
But that was the 1-year project.
1-year project.
Right, this is
Yep.
over 20-year, or whatever it is.
Sure.
That we're gonna bond the funds.
Yeah.
So the grant will come off the
Yeah.
total cost of this project, but
Right.
then you add in
Payment.
consideration of administratively consolidating all the districts.
Well, we, back in 2007, we got $500,000 grant from Senator, or Congressman Hall.
Whole, right.
And then we spent another $500,000,
That's right.
and we borrowed that money. And,
Yeah.
so but we paid for it as we went.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is twice that, that's the difference.
So there was some talk about, between you and I guess the engineers, that because of the amount of money, you couldn't ban it, but I guess we can ban it. Is that right?
Christine looked into it, yep.
Yeah.
she has
Yeah, I
it.
think
And
so.
that's gonna be like 5 years? Is that what the payment would be over 5
Over
years?
5 years, yep.
Yeah. Can it be longer than that?
I don't know, she's looking into it.
Yeah. So in other words, to ease the pain, so to speak, I know there's more interest related, but
You roll it over
there's
into a bond.
all the
No.
possibility of being able to
George,
extend.
Okay, well, and you normally shorten them, that's why you like bands.
Right.
For example, when ADC Maplewood, when they come online, they're gonna have to give Hamiltonian Park probably $500,000 of funds. That's where it comes, we just paid off the water line in Section A with the funds from, Mr. Mumford's group.
It's
You-
$170,000.
You do a ban for 5 years and you roll it over each year,
Yep.
and then after the 5 years, you roll it into a bond, a long range bond.
Yes, that's correct.
And you do the ban just in case
Yeah.
you wanna pay it off
Yeah.
every year if you get grants or whatever.
But there is,
That's how that works.
there is cost, it's gonna be coming in from ADC Maplewood.
Oh, yeah.
Hookup
Well,
fees as well.
yeah, that's why we do a ban
Hookup
to
fees.
begin with.
I think we'll get the money with that developers agreement, maybe if they build within 5 years to pay this off.
So
Sure.
that's why you take out a ban for the first 5
Yeah,
years,
absolutely.
and it rolls every year.
Versus a ban,
Yeah.
versus a bond.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just-
pretty good.
That's how it works.
So the ban is gonna be somewhere, probably around $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, roughly $1 million. Well, we don't know, because this is an estimated cost, it depends on how much we can do internally.
Do our own,
How
yeah.
much that Broderick can do, and if we have another winter like we have this year, there's, they have plenty of time to work.
Yeah, but the ban band is based on a long-term
Right.
basis. It's
Well,
a
you,
band, but it's a
you
long-term
applied
basis.
for the band like we did for the Salesian. We applied for, $1.5 million band. We didn't use it all.
Right.
Christine can surrender it, she can pay it down, she can do whatever she
Right.
wants. So you go for the max, and then if you only end up utilizing 750,000, she gives the rest back.
And the payment on that band is not, you don't have to pay the whole thing in 1 year.
Correct.
Or the 5 years, so.
But again,
It'll be
I don't
okay.
think you have one person in Hamiltonian or Arcadia coming out against clean water. We have to just figure out a way to get it done.
It'll work out.
Mhm.
Anything else
agree.
from anybody?
No, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Well, that was the green sand in Hamiltonian Park, and then there was another thing behind the rest of this thing of the consolidation and the fees for the
Correct, and
consolidation.
now I'm going back to the senator for another 200,000 to try to do it at Arcadia too. So we would do the same thing in Arcadia.
Same type of thing with green sand.
Yep.
Yep.
Roughly $1 million.
Arcadia's gonna be a little longer because there's quite a few more wells.
Yeah.
This is, we're actually tying only 2 wells together. 2 are in one house and one's in
The wells in Hamiltonian are closer
Yeah.
than where you would ideally situate filtration plant for Arcadia.
But again, it's another location over there,
There's
it's all
additional
behind the homes and everything, all the diggings behind the homes on the property that we own. We kind of plotted it all out.
Mhm.
Good, very good.
I think we just need approval for you to sign the 2 agreements.
Yep.
Well, do you want to discuss the other agreement, which is the consolidation?
Yeah.
That's what you brought up.
Yeah, just now, there was another proposal, I believe, engineering fees was 15,000.
That was to advance, that was to advance the consolidation, which is related but separate to the filtration.
Separate program, these are absolutely
Did
separate.
we approve that already?
No, that was
No.
for
No.
the
The
attorney.
attorney. Okay.
This is for Delaware to work with the attorney.
The question I have on that one is, if we consolidate, we could supposedly go for bigger grants from the state of New York or the federal government. Okay? But we've got to tell the people in the public, well, here's what you're gonna be paying versus this and that. I mean, it may be some pushback from them, okay? And I think we need to do that before we say yes on that one.
Yeah, on the
On the
consolidation.
consolidation?
Yeah.
There is
We did that already.
We already did that in the meeting, that's why we.
No, we didn't have all the people in here that, or their rates are gonna go up and down. That's where they can, that's what I'm talking.
We did this last week.
We did, we
Same
approved it, we
discussion.
sent the money to the
We
attorney already.
approved it the time they
Okay,
came in,
well,
we had the
That's already-
discussion
You
about
asked if we could
doing.
take it out of ARPA money, and I said yes, and we took it out of ARPA money.
Okay,
That was for the legal.
that's
That
the
was
legal
That
part.
was for the consolidation, correct.
Yeah, but now this is $15,000 more
For
for
them
the
to work with
engineering.
right, for them to work with the attorneys, correct.
Right.
Again, we can take this out of ARPA.
That's what I recommend.
Yeah.
So just so I know, what's advanced on the consolidation end so far? Yeah.
We paid the money to the attorney.
We didn't
and
pay.
got the
We haven't been billed.
We haven't been.
Well, I'm just saying, what work has
Yeah.
proceeded so far?
The agreement.
Oh, okay.
Again, let me see if I get clarity on this, okay? Are we going to talk to all the people in all the water districts where this is gonna happen? Say, okay, here's how the system works, and here's what you're gonna pay, and so forth and so on?
Yeah, so I think what we need to do is we need to get everything in place on what it's gonna take, at the same time, develop a plan with them to see what the actual cost is gonna be, and go out to bid.
Okay, well, I'm just,
That's what we'll
I'm
have.
Well, not so much go to bid, but you'd have to have a public hearing for the
Yes.
district consolidation, and where the costs are going to be
Some
discussed or revealed, and that's, the costs are gonna be determined within the map plan report for which we will develop.
Right, but we won't know the cost of the individual homeowner until we know what the actual cost we're paying, so you're gonna be forced to write an RFP and go out to bid. Whether you award that bid or not, you need to know what the costs are, because you're giving me estimated costs, you're not giving me actual costs.
We're talking about the district consolidation?
We're talking about you're talking about district consolidation, or you talking?
district consolidation, because some people are gonna pay more and some people are gonna pay less.
There's no RFP for the district consolidation.
So that's based on the existing cost today, what it's gonna change. And you guys gave us that specimen on
Yes.
where you're going down. and
Right,
who's going
right,
up.
right, and that's, it was detailed, but it was higher level, but the map plan report is really gonna tighten up the figures. And that's what you then present to the public at the public hearing.
Okay.
That's right, that's what we need to do.
Right. In order to get to that point, you need the map plan report, which is
Right.
what our proposal is
And
for.
that's fine, okay.
So, actually, to go to the public hearing, we would also need the legal part of it as well, right? The guy that, the attorney who's working on that we passed last meeting or the meeting before, plus the $15,000. So
Right.
we have the legal and your work, you refer to it as a map report?
Map plan and
Map
report,
plan.
NPR.
So then when we come in and we have the public here talking about this thing, we'll be able to get right down to figures.
Yes.
Like, this is how much it's gonna go up, or this is how much it's going to go down in each one of the water or sewer districts.
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
Correct. And the legal is gonna need something from an engineer, whether it be us or somebody else. They're gonna need, he's only be able to get so far before they need something on a technical meeting.
And then I had one other question, which was on the part of the proposal, was number 5, and it talked about liabilities and indebtedness to each of the districts to be consolidated. So my question is, if they have debt now, right, does it stay with that specific water district, or is that then spread out to the one big district, even though it's been incurred before the consolidation took place?
It will be spread to the final district, which is the enlarged district, yes.
I see.
But you also have capital contributions in Hamiltonian Park and in Arcadia for sewer and water that all get combined into one thing too. So they may be
Right.
paying a ban that we have for something specific that we did, whether it be the water tower in Arcadia or something else, but all that money's gonna be bulked together now also.
With their fees, is what I'm
Correct.
saying. Yeah,
All debt and all balances ultimately get shared.
Correct.
I see.
Bill? Anything else? Good? Good.
I understand.
All right, so can I have a motion to sign the proposal for Delaware Engineering for water consolidation in Hamiltonian water filters?
So moved.
Second,
I'll second the motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Signing these, this is the original. Aaron? This is the original, or you have the original?
God, I have the original.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Sean.
We're fine, everybody.
Thanks, Sam.
Okay.
John, thank you.
Do we have the Hearthstone in here?
Yes,
You
it's
still
right
fee
after the
agreement?
minutes, all right? Right before the minutes and before the local law. Can I give it to you? Right after Delaware.
Yeah, we got it in mind.
There you go, Joe. I'll share mine.
There's
What?
4 pages, 7 pages stuff.
Huh?
There's like 4 or 7 pages.
Whatever it was I gave you.
Yeah, gotta be here somewhere.
What's that?
Yeah, I don't have one.
You want this one?
One last place to look. Yeah.
I guess Mary's gonna be giving you.
Thank you. Okay, so. Review and approve the agreement for Hearthstone. We have agreement in front of us. It is for the senior private housing complex over on Quarry Road. They have a, federal government gives a private housing finance, it's a private housing finance law which gives them 1/3 taxation for provided low-income housing, which they do. They came back to us to extend the agreement, although we're required to sign it regardless. we were able to ask for, and they gladly gave us a fee that we were gonna be able to utilize on behalf of the residents of Goshen for a project that we had been working on at Craigdale Park. They were in agreement for it, and they're going to give us a $72,000 contribution towards that project. So although we really don't have the jurisdiction to say no to them because it's a federal law,
Yeah.
they were in agreement, so we'll take it. So,
Yep.
any questions on it? Or it's for Hartstone, it's on Quarry Road, it's low-income housing over there.
So this cost us nothing.
Yeah, it would cost us nothing, and technically, we're not really entitled to anything, but they were good enough to agree to it.
But do they pay like a pilot amount?
It's not a pilot, it's a taxation based on a percentage, and it's under federal law, federal housing law.
So the $72,000 is the complete amount that we're gonna get?
For 10 years.
For 10 years,
Yep.
it's $72,000.
Yep.
The rest of it is, they don't pay any tax?
They pay they pay taxes, yeah.
Oh, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
they pay taxes to us right now.
But they pay at a reduced rate?
Correct, I think it's, remember what it was, when they were looking at it, I thought he said it was 1/3 of the assessed value.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up where they fall into the category, I don't have it in front of me.
It's a substantial amount of money.
It's either
Yeah.
20% or 1/3, that's the two numbers I have rattling around, but it's significant. They're still paying the tax.
Mhm.
I guess the question is, why wouldn't we do it?
Right.
No. Any comments, questions, anything?
So then is there two things? that
There's
we're
two
passing?
resolutions,
Two
one
resolutions.
is the tax exemption itself, and one is the monies.
The 72,000.
Yeah, and,
Okay.
you'll see an exhibit in there, which is the actual municipal fee agreement.
Mhm. That money, as I understand, has already been transferred to their attorney?
It's waiting, they're waiting for the wiring instructions, I figured we'd see.
Not
that.
transferred to us, but I understanding in talking to them, their attorney already has it in
It's
escrow.
essentially an escrow waiting
Yeah.
to come over tomorrow, assuming that everything goes through.
Okay. All right, so can I have a motion to accept the Hartstone agreement?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have to do both of them?
Yep.
Okay, the second agreement is.
It's only two, it's two resolutions. The agreement is an exhibit to the second resolution.
So what is the proper verbiage on, what are we accepting? One is the Hartstone agreement.
I actually didn't hear the first motion.
The actual agreement, the actual fee agreement.
To
Called the
accept-
municipal fee agreement.
Right.
That's what it's titled.
Okay. So can I have a
To
motion?
accept the municipal fee agreement would be satisfactory to me.
Okay.
Is
So
this
can
for
I,
the second one?
Yeah.
do I have a motion to accept the municipal fee agreement for Hartstone?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Good. Next on the agenda is the review and discussion of introductory law number 1 of 2023 elected official term limits. It's a resolution before you which extends the term limit of I hate the word term limit because everybody assumes it's the maximum amount of terms, but it's not. It's we're looking to extend the term to a 4-year term for the
Term of office.
Term
instead
of
a
office.
term limit.
The supervisor, the clerk, and the superintendent of highways. Just to keep in line with what councilmen are and
And the trends everywhere.
trends everywhere at the attorney. Yeah,
We're one
Walk's
of the
done
few
it,
towns that was left.
Monroe's done it.
Yeah. Chester, East Fishkill.
Someone told me this was voted on years and years ago and it didn't pass. It has to go on the ballot.
It's a
It's a
mandatory referendum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't,
All we're doing is passing
Putting it on
the
there.
local law so that we can get it to the Board of Elections and it can go on the ballot in November.
I'll make that motion.
Yeah, I'll second it. I've been advocating to do this for 20 years.
Yeah.
Because once you start a project, the
Yeah.
supervisor,
Yeah.
Takes one
they
or
get
2
involved
years.
in a project, and all of a sudden you change administrations.
Yeah.
I think we
Or
absolutely
you-
have to do it.
Or if you actively have somebody running against you, you gotta now go out and start campaigning, so.
And additionally, for the timing right now, if not done now, you can't do it again till the full cycle goes
It's
through
on
the
yeah,
supervisor. It'd be 6 years before.
Every
you do
odd
it.
year.
Right.
I
and it
can
wouldn't go into effect, so.
Now, I think the referendum you were talking about, Doug,
Pardon?
it was, the one that you were talking about that we went out was when the highway superintendent,
Right,
we were trying to get the highway superintendent
right,
to become a part of the town
right.
rather than an elected position.
Yeah.
And we lost like
That's
4 to
what it
1.
was, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was
yeah.
4 to 1.
Right,
You
right.
know, because the campaign.
Versus being
said-
an employee versus an elected official.
Yeah, it was like,
Yeah,
the-
yeah.
most of the highway departments fall under the town
But
board.
I can
So,
say though that after running 8 times and supervised, it's a lot of work.
oh,
Money.
And when the councilmen are just doing it every 4 years. And so, and town clerk the same. I mean, it's a lot of work and
yeah.
I
The
think
judges
it's
are also 4 years, so this would make everything
Everything
essentially
conform.
across the.
I'm all
It should have
for
been done
But
years
it won't
ago.
go into effect, the law will go into effect if passed,
Yeah.
24, but the first time it would be operated upon would be 26.
Right,
So,
fine. Okay.
If
Yeah,
you were
way
ran
ahead
for
of-
reelection.
If I ran, if I win this
It would be a
time,
2-year.
right, exactly.
And then the next.
It doesn't
time-
affect this, doesn't
Correct.
affect this term.
Right,
Right.
I tried to clarify that in
I make a motion, we accept this as written.
Did we just do that?
We did.
Yeah,
We did
Phil
it.
seconded.
Oh,
the. So
okay.
good,
All in
twice.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then do it
That
twice.
was easy.
Okay. Review and approve the town board minutes from February 23rd, 2023. Any questions, concerns on them? No?
Make a motion, we approve them as written.
Second?
Second.
Is
All in
that-
favor?
wait,
Aye.
Is that the one I was at? No, I missed that.
No, you missed that one.
You missed
So
that
I'm
one.
gonna abstain.
Okay, for information purposes, Charles Gambuti was hired as a laborer in the highway department at a rate of $23.48 an hour. This is not an additional position or additional headcount. It's either a replacement or an approved spot from the budget. Mary's looking to go away again, so could we approve the town clerk to attend the Town Clerks Association Conference April 23rd, 24th, 25th in Syracuse, New York?
So moved.
Second.
Drive carefully.
Don't all agree too
Hey,
fast.
drive carefully.
All in favor?
May I add, my son lives in Syracuse, so I'll visit and then I'm gonna come in and.
No.
I already volunteered.
I'm gonna move the conference.
When you move it to Albany, he's gonna go visit his grandkids.
That's
He's not
it,
going away.
that's it.
In fact, he'd rather you move it to Albany, because he'd rather go see his granddaughter.
Okay.
All right, finance. Board approval to transfer balance from HJ Hambletonian Water Park Capital Fund to SC Hambletonian Park Water Operating Fund. See attached memo of Christine.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Board approval to transfer balance of HSC Salesian demolition to A General Townwide Fund. I'll make,
So
I'll make a
moved.
motion. Second,
I have George and Phil.
all in favor?
Aye.
Discussion approve the motion to authorize the supervisor to pay accounts payable check run for March 9th, 2023 in the amount of $178,342.68. So moved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anything from the floor, residents, Mr. Howe?
Just a heritage question about the speed limit.
Yeah. Want an update? I've had 4 calls with DOT. He's called me back 3 times, so it's my turn, his turn to call me back. But I'm just waiting on their piece to approve it. It has to go to DOT, so.
Government is
Various things. This is pretty trivial.
Yeah, I know, but I can't do it without the county.
Oh, yeah.
So, but 1 week, that seems like it's moving at high speed at this
Yeah.
point, right? No, but I anticipate by next board meeting having it in front of the board for approval.
Okay.
All right?
Don't count.
Feel free, you can call me outside of this to check on it if you want.
Okay.
I have no problem with that.
We won't answer his phone.
I just said you could call me, I didn't say you could talk to me.
Is it the DOT office up in Albany or the one?
It starts with Orange County DOT, but it will ultimately I don't know if it's a Orange County or a New York State DOT question or approval. It comes from the state.
Well,
So-
I think at the state of New York, what happens is.
Well, no, I understand. Go ahead.
Well, when, for example, if we, in the past, in the town somewhere on a regular road, we wanna go from 30 to 35 or this or that, they approve it or disapprove it.
Yeah.
And they come down and look at it too, so.
But I think that, there's actually a law already passed by the state of New York allowing the
It
reduction.
100% allows it, but I still have to have the
No.
approval.
Yeah, I understand.
But it's done, but you guys ultimately give the approval, but it's like the DEC checking out things.
No, understood,
Yeah.
understood, what I believe is we're not going through the drawn-out process of understanding why. The reduction has already been granted by the state of New York.
Exactly. We don't even have to give, they used to have to give legislative reasoning. but-
Good.
Okay. Anything else? Bob?
Yeah, the Hearthstone, the 72,000, is that annual or is that a one-time fee?
One time for 10 years. It's a 10-year agreement.
Okay, so it's $7,200 a year, not
Correct.
720,000.
Correct, but they're paying up front. So they're paying up front, and as long as they maintain the low-income housing, they're entitled to it. If they ever change that, which they have a right to do, because they own it, they can't go back and say, we're not gonna do that anymore. We don't have to give any money back to them. So if 4 years from now, they say, forget it, it's no longer low-income housing, it's too much of a headache for us, we wanna go out and rent to anybody, they are allowed to do that, but they get no money back from the town.
This is out on Quarry Road?
Correct.
Is it their property?
I was just gonna ask that, I think.
Yeah, I think they do own.
Yeah, they own it.
No, they own the property.
They own the
Yeah.
property.
Yeah, they're paying taxes on it, so they own the property.
I don't know how aware you are of it, but have you heard of the TOD, the Transit-Oriented Development, that the governor wants to put in, and the federal government also has the same thing when they give you a grant, and it doesn't even have to be housing related.
Mhm.
They also put in the fine print that they're gonna do this housing, after you take the grant for
Right.
whatever it is.
Mhm.
In the small print, it also says, oh, by the way, we're gonna put 50 units on an acre in this area. So I just wanted to know.
Yeah, I mean,
where-
that's probably in line with what the governor's trying to do now, where she's looking to overrule home rule and change zoning in order to get, to get, not low-income housing, but affordable housing into place. I just don't think I think even if she's able to push this through the legislature, unless they're gonna fund it, I don't see how you're gonna get a developer to build something and charge $600 a month rent. It's impossible.
But this also speaks to another reason this is a no-brainer, because it satisfies some of our.
Correct.
Yeah.
It could satisfy some of our percentage.
But they'll give them credits or something, when they wanna do something, they find a way to do it, they don't care.
Well,
They'll let them build something else someplace else if they do this.
Yeah, they did that with
It's-
senior citizens.
I just think it's something to be very wary of.
Listen, I can tell you, both sides of the aisle are against this completely. My understanding that every mayor and every supervisor in Orange County has written a letter, as we have written a letter to the governor, telling, that we're not happy with this, it's not something that, it's not something that the government in Albany should be overruling home rule on our zoning codes. And in fact, we received a letter today from the town of Hempstead, supervisor asking us to attend a walk-in up in Albany on March 26th, where all supervisors and mayors are getting together to walk on Albany to talk about this. So this is 100% bipartisan. Nobody's in favor of this, other than the governor. And from what I understand, in speaking to different people up there, she understands that this this may have been a boo-boo for her, putting this in there.
Unless the legislature is pushing it towards it. They're the ones that.
But they're not pushing it. They're not pushing it.
The big cities control the legislature.
It is, but when you have the local mayors and supervisors who are on the Democratic side of the aisle going along with this, saying there's no possible way that we could allow you to come into our town and say, in downtown Goshen, at the Harness Museum, we're gonna take that property over, we're gonna put 260 units in there to satisfy that. Nobody wants that. No mayor, no county exec, no mayor, and no town supervisor, regardless of what you're, Republican or Democrat or independent, wants that. Because now once you establish that, we're moot at that point.
And that's the way she wants
Well, we're moot at that point, correct. So, but, there's a long road and a long fight, and even if she gets it done by some way of getting it done, I don't see a developer paying for this, so unless the government's gonna come up with, $1 trillion to start putting all these things in and getting funding for it.
Do you think that's beyond the pale for?
We're tapped out already. People are tapped out. The federal government's tapped out.
You keep spending.
Yeah, well, let's hope it never gets to that, because I think you have enough bipartisan support to nullify this. She's getting a lot of heat internally for it. So let's hope that happens. Anything else?
On a more positive note, the St. Patty's Day Parade is this coming Sunday. Step off is at 2 o'clock. It's, everybody's forming over at the county building and goes down Montgomery Street onto Main Street. And I'm sure Rory will be there with his flashing uniform.
What's the weather for?
There's a lot of pressure now,
I was about to say,
George.
bring your snowshoes and your polo coat. You're gonna have 3 to 5 inches on Saturday.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
It'll be gone by Sunday morning.
I don't know if it'll be melted.
you mouth to God's ears. Very
Isn't
good.
that it to an
Listen.
Irishman?
No.
Let's see.
We love that. I think it makes it more fun.
All right, so, we're gonna be, closing the meeting, going into executive session to discuss a potential legal issue and not to come back, so can I have a motion to
So
close the
moved.
meeting? Second? All in favor?
Aye.